Hey friends, it's Mike Shea from Sly Flourish. I'm the author of Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master, the Lazy DM's Workbook, and now the Lazy DM's Companion. And today we're going to take an in-depth look into the Lazy DM's Companion, my most recent book, and a book that I'm really proud of. The Lazy DM's Companion has 64 pages of guidelines to help streamline your 5e play and inspiration to help you generate your own adventures and your own campaigns. It's got a lot of material. Almost every single page of this book is packed with guidelines and inspiration to help you run your games. And we're going to go through it all right now. I start off early with tools for improvisation. My goal here is to just give some tools that DMs can sort of keep in their heads or have referenced on a page that makes it a lot easier to run 5e games. A lot of the tools that you see in here are expanded in other parts of the book. I also wanted to offer some quick tricks. These are just things that lazy DMs can do to keep in mind to help make their game run a little smoother and a little faster. The core adventure generator in the beginning of the book is a really powerful set of tools and tables that you can use to generate adventures, but you can also use some of the tables from this when you're building other parts of your campaign. You might use the condition, description, and origin table to fill out other pieces of your campaign, like filling out the details of treasure or rooms in a catacomb, something like that. So many of the tables that are part of the core adventure generator, they work well to build these core adventures, but you can also pull these out and use them in other parts of your prep and use them for other tables inside this book. It's a very powerful set of a couple of pages. Building an RPG group remains one of the hardest parts of D&D, and so I offered all of the best practices that I've got from other DMs and that I've seen work and practice myself and put them on one page. This is one page to help give you all the information you need to try to put together a good group and keep that group going on for a while. Safety tools are really important for our RPGs, and here I discuss some of the most used safety tools that I've used in my games that have worked very well, and that have worked well for a lot of people in their groups. Session zeros are a fantastic way to make sure all your players are on board with the campaign you're running and that their characters are built around the theme of the campaign. And I offer a checklist for how to run a session zero here in the book. Running games one-on-one is actually a really powerful way to enjoy an RPG that I don't think a lot of people use. Here is one page on how to run a one-on-one D&D game that can make it easy to run and offer this really different and enjoyable way to enjoy our hobby. Over the past couple of years, many of us have moved from in-person to online play. Here are some of the best practices for running games online that I've pulled from other DMs and I've used and have experienced myself. Here are some of the best practices that many DMs have used to run successful games online. Sometimes we find ourselves in a position to run single session games for a group. Here are some guidelines to help make sure that those single session games run as smooth as possible. Every so often, we find ourselves in the position to teach this hobby to other people. Here are some guidelines to make teaching a new player our RPGs as effective as possible. First level play in 5e can be really lethal. So here is one page of guidelines to help smooth out first level play and make it a little bit easier for players to get started in this game and not get killed by a bunch of giant rats. The second step of Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master is to build a strong start. This generator offers a bunch of different options for building strong starts that you can either roll on directly or that you can use as inspiration to build your own strong starts. Quest templates are a very powerful tool to give you a template to build your entire quest around. They're sort of general purpose quests that you can use and fill and flavor with all of your own details, but are known to work well as quests inside of our D&D games. Secrets and Clues is the real powerhouse tip from Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master. And here we have some generators to help you think about what your secrets and clues might be. If you ever need inspiration on what kind of secrets and clues to include in your adventure prep, this guide can hopefully shake up your brain and have you coming up with some really interesting secrets and clues for your own game. Building situations is a really powerful way to think about your game by taking a wider view at the whole situation that's going on at a location rather than building things out scene by scene or room by room. This generator offers a lot of different thoughts about how you can build a situation rather than building a staged series of scenes. This NPC generator makes it easy to help quickly build an NPC either on the fly or during your prep. This villain generator helps you come up with some of the bigger, badder villains of your campaign. This one-page treasure generator can be used when you don't want to go through all of the details of building out big parcels and instead just want some quick treasure to drop into your game. All on one page, you have both monetary treasure and magical treasure that you can drop into your game with just a few dice rolls. Exploration is one of the hardest pillars of D&D to understand. A good piece of the Lazy DM's Companion talks about exploration and offers a lot of tools for how to streamline that part of the game. This page offers a few different ideas that you can use to help build the idea of exploration in your own game. Point crawls are an excellent way to do overland travel, travel through a city, or even travel underground. This guideline offers you tips and tricks for how to do point crawls in your own game. This page offers some guidelines for how to run wilderness travel, including different roles for the characters that they can take, how to handle group stealth, and other tools like that. This guideline offers a bunch of different locations that you might find in a variety of different environments while exploring the world. Spiral campaigns are built from the characters outward, and this guideline talks about what spiral campaign development actually looks like and offers a bunch of different examples that you can either roll on to inspire yourself or give you an idea about how spiral development works. I have a few different combat options in here, including some updated Theater of the Mind guidelines. You can run this yourself, but you can also print this out and hand it to your players so that they all understand how your Theater of the Mind combat is going to work. I also offer an alternative called zone-based combat. This is a common approach used in other RPGs and sometimes in 5e, in which instead of thinking about things as 5-foot squares, you think about larger locations as zones. This page has a whole bunch of different guidelines for how to use zone-based combat that can be used both on a map or in Theater of the Mind. It can be used with any kind of combat option that you want at your table. Encounter balance has always been one of those tricky topics for 5e, and here I offer an alternative guideline for how to build combat encounters in your game. Monster stat blocks can be notoriously swingy either one way or the other when we run them at the game. The idea of monster difficulty dials lets you tweak each individual monster with 4 different dials to make sure that they play at the challenge level you expect for the story of the monster. Monster templates are a way to modify any monster in the book to turn them into different variants. This basically takes all of the monsters in the monster manual and multiplies them out by 7 or 8 times, giving you a huge range of different kinds of monsters you can use in your game with just a few small steps. Undead templates does the same thing, only with undead monsters. Have you ever wanted a stone giant white? Have you ever wanted a ghoulish crocodile? Or maybe a draconic vampire? This one has all of the information you need to change any monster into an undead variant of its type. Sometimes we want to make quick legendary monsters for our game. This guideline offers tips for how to make a legendary monster out of any normal monster easily and quickly. Not every battle in D&D is 7 or 8 monsters versus the party. Sometimes the party will face 30 or 40 or 50 or even 100 monsters at once, but trying to adjudicate combat that way can be really difficult. Running Hordes is a 1-page guide to make it far easier to run as many monsters as you want against a small group of characters. Stress effects is a new way to look at the unnatural and supernatural stress that might fall on a character when they witness things far beyond their mortal minds. It offers a bunch of different stress effects and new mechanics you can use and even overlay on some existing status effects like fear and stun that make them far more fun to use in the game. Now we look at some of the campaign generators that exist in this book. The settlement generator lets you quickly build settlements or helps inspire the kind of settlements you want to drop into your fantasy game. Wilderness exploration helps you fill out all of the details in wilderness overland travel. Underground exploration gives you all kinds of interesting places to find underground. The Lands of the Fae helps you explore the strange realm of the fairies. Many times we find the characters involved in a great big war going on. This guideline talks about how to run a war-based campaign and also the different kinds of missions and locations and enemies they might face during this war. Haunted Lairs helps you fill out those strange, spooky places that exist in the shadows of our game. The God Generator lets you quickly build strange, forgotten gods that might exist in the far corners of your land. Many of the ruins found currently in the civilization might be the remains of lost kingdoms. This Lost Kingdom generator lets you fill in details of these strange kingdoms while you're running your game or while you're building your campaign. Cults are one of my favorite enemies in fantasy RPGs, and this generator lets you build a huge number of strange cults that the characters might get involved with. Sometimes the characters find themselves either witnessing or even stepping into alien worlds. This alien world generator lets you build a wide range of strange worlds that the characters may read about, may see, or maybe even visit. Now we have a bunch of different adventure generators built around a specific theme. In the Traitor, the characters are hunting down a traitor in a hostile land. In the Hunger, the characters face off against a powerful beast that's eating the local villagers. In Vengeance for Hire, the characters have been hired to hunt down or kill one or more notorious villains. In Protect the Village, the characters have been hired by a village to protect it from outside marauders. In The Keep, the characters find out that there is a being of tremendous power kept within some kind of vault. There are groups that are trying to break it out, groups that are trying to protect it, and groups that are trying to kill it, including perhaps the characters. In Invaders, the characters are sent to find a lost group of people that have been invaded upon by some kind of outside influence. In Hunt for the Relic, the characters travel overland and into ancient ruins to find relics of power before another group does the same. In The Heist, the characters break into a location in order to steal something from a villain. Dungeon of Shadows is a 2-page abbreviated adventure built using the tables in this book and using one of the maps that are included in the book in the end. It's a great way to see what you can build when you put all of these tables together. I have a video series in which I actually built out the Dungeon of Shadows live on Twitch. You can find a link to both of those videos in the show notes below. The rest of this book contains a number of general purpose maps that you can use either to inspire your own maps or to use directly in your game. The first one I have here is a mixture of a natural dungeon and a worked stone dungeon put together. You can take this map, you can flip it horizontally or vertically, you can seal off chambers, you can use it in lots of different ways for lots of different purposes in your game. This is a general purpose town map. This might be a settlement that the characters run into, it might be their home base, it might be a dead city that they have to explore. This 3-story manor map can be used either as a home base for the characters, as the centerpiece for a heist, or as a place that they just visit during a dinner party. You could also use individual levels of this rather than use it all together. This bottom level small dungeon that's underneath the manor makes for an excellent small dungeon all on its own. This inn and tavern map serves the same purpose. Maybe the characters have to break in here to face off against a bandit lord, or maybe they're just going in for a drink. I also have 2 example point crawl maps. This one is an overland point crawl map. You can see the small locations and you can see the routes that connect them together. And then I have an underground point crawl map as well. Both of these point crawl maps show how point crawls can work. You can either use them directly to fill in a big piece of your adventure, or use them as inspiration when you're thinking about your own point crawls. And finally, I have both a small natural cavern and a worked stone map. Again, you can use these in any way that you want, either as small dungeons, as pieces of larger dungeons. You can flip them over, you can seal off chambers, you can use them in a number of different ways. They're meant to just be quick dungeons that you can grab and throw into your game when you need one. So that is the Lazy Dungeon Master's Companion. I'm really happy with this book. I hope you like it a lot. If you want to try it out before you buy it, you can find some sample pages below. They're all very usable on their own. They offer a lot of utility, all for free. So check that out. If you want to pick it up, you can also find the links to buy it in the show notes below. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you like this book as much as I do. Thank you very much for hanging out with me to talk about it. Have a great day and get out there and play some D&D.